Who else could it be? Me, your me, Louie Tee. Welcome to another edition of the Draft Prospects 101 series, your guide to some of the biggest and hottest names of the 2017 NFL Draft. I, of course, am your man, Louie Tee, taking you along on this journey. We're talking tight ends, and it's the last one. I promise. It seems like we've been doing tight ends for an eternity, but that's how many of them there are in this draft. And there are more. Trust me, there are more. There are guys like Adam Shaheen out of Ashland that I just can't get to. But bottom line, I mean, Jake Butt, probably one of the most talented tight ends in this draft because he's injured. I didn't do him. But that's a guy that probably would have either been a first round, definitely no worse than a second round pick in this draft. He's that talented. So this tight end crop is just endless and deep with talent. But the next guy I'm going to talk about is an enigma for me. But I know some people like him. I think some people feel like this guy could be a game changer. And so I felt the need to do him. He's right in my backyard. So I figured, why not? Why not do a little something onto Munchin Bucky Hodges? Okay, a guy that out of Virginia Tech has done some things to kind of change the game a bit for those guys. But he's a kind of an enigma, like I said before, not a natural tight end. We'll talk about all of that stuff. But yes, we're talking about Virginia Tech tight end, Bucky Hodges. Let's talk about his pros and why this guy has a chance at the next level to be a productive tight end, receiver, or something. So, of course, you start with his size at 6'6", 257 pounds. This guy's a behemoth out there on the gridiron. You put him outside and you match him up against corners that are 5'11", that are 6 feet, and they still look like dwarfs compared to Bucky Hodges. And this guy's a tremendous athlete, which is the next pro. At 6'6", 257 pounds, which is humongous. This is a guy that ran a 4.57 at the combine, had a 39-inch vertical leap and an 11.1 broad jump. So you're talking about a guy that is just extremely athletic. I just talked about the 39-inch vert. Again, we're talking about a 6'6" man here. So that takes us to our next pro. This guy can high point the football. He can get up to levels that guys just simply can't. Even a 6'3" corner is still at a disadvantage unless that guy has a 43-inch vertical leap or something like that, or just ridiculous arm length. He's still at a disadvantage at 6'3" against a 6'6" guy with a 39-inch vert. So this guy can go up. There are countless times on tape where you see this guy go up for the football and he still doesn't even extend his hands. He's catching the ball with his chest up here and the corner is still somewhere down here around his waist, down by his nutsack somewhere. So this is a guy that his vertical leap, his ability to high point the football, at least go up in the air for it, makes it tough to cover him when quarterbacks just say, you know what, to hell with it. He's got one-on-one. I'm just going to throw it up there and hope that he can make a play for me. So he's got that ability with that size, athleticism, and the ability to high point the ball to be a mismatch for a lot of teams out there. Good hands. I don't think his hands are great. I saw him drop enough passes to make me uncomfortable enough to not be able to give him the tag of great hands, but they're good hands. I think he's a guy that is a natural hands catcher. Sometimes I think he loses focus. Sometimes I think he blinks when he's catching the football upon contact. So I don't think he catches it in traffic as well as I would like him to. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But bottom line is his hands are good enough to get it done at that position. Formational flexibility. They moved him everywhere at Virginia Tech. And for a while, they kept on the charade of this guy being a tight end. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And then finally, they said, to hell with it. He's really a receiver. We understand that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But they tried. You know, he blocked a little. He tried to. Okay, who am I fooling? He doesn't block at all. But this is a guy that you can move around, and if a team decides that, yes, he is in fact a tight end, and they continue to try to fit this square peg into a round hole, then, yeah, you can move this guy around. Basically is what I'm saying. You can put him in the slot. You can put him out wide. You can put him in the backfield. They handed this man the rock at Virginia Tech, okay? They would put him in jet sweep situations, and they would put him in the backfield and actually hand him off the football. So formationally, this guy is very diverse if you want to put him in multiple positions in your offense. Red zone threat. I just told you he was 6'6". I told you he had a 39-inch vertical leap. I told you that he can high point the football. Do I really need to explain to you why this guy is a red zone threat? Do I really need to do that? I don't think I actually need to expound upon that. I think you get the picture here. This guy can be a big, big problem in the red zone where you can just throw it up to him and he can make plays. I don't think I really need to explain why he's a red zone threat. We'll move on to the next pro. Body control. For a guy 6'6", 257 pounds, he does a really good job of contorting and controlling his body in midair to try to catch the football. He does a good job of separating himself from defender. His problem is just holding on to it sometimes, but he does a really good job of separating himself and the football, or the defender, I should say, and the football away from each other, with his body being the shield and the barrier between the two. So I think he has really good body control, and that 6'6", 257, trust me, that's not easy to do. Good career productivity is the next pro. This guy went out at Virginia Tech, and remember, we're talking about a guy that came from college or high school. All right, right here in my neck of the woods, in the 757, from Salem High School, where he was a big-time recruit as a quarterback, and transitions from quarterback to wide receiver or tight end, okay, at Virginia Tech, and comes right onto the field immediately and starts and gives them production at the tight end position. So 133 career catches for 1,747 yards and 20 touchdowns in 3 years while at Virginia Tech. Huge numbers for a guy coming in and making a positional switch. Remember that this is not a natural tight end / wide receiver we're talking about here. We're talking about a guy that was a quarterback that was being asked to make a positional switch. That's hard and tough to do in itself, but to go out and be uber productive while doing it, that's a whole nother issue onto itself. Got to give him a lot of credit for being able to do that on the fly and be as effective as he was at Virginia Tech. And then finally, durability. Played in all 40 collegiate games that he was had a chance to participate in. And again, being a tight end, being a wide receiver, being all of those things, and being able to go out there and play each and every single week. For a guy his size, we know the bigger guys, we think because guys are bigger, they're indestructible. Being bigger sometimes isn't better because there's more to hit. You know, and guys that see you as a huge target say, you know what, I'm not going upstairs on this guy. I'm going to cut him low. And that's how guys get hurt a lot of times. So the fact that he was able to play in all 40 games is remarkable, if you ask me. But we go from all of the pros to some of the cons that I think are going to affect Bucky Hodges at the next level. Let's talk about his cons. All right, let's face it. Bucky Hodges is a wide receiver. He's a receiver. That's the first con. Like, you know who I liken him to, who his comp is for me? He's this year's Devin Funchess. Remember when Devin Funchess came out of Michigan and he had this whole complex issue where, you know, he didn't know if he was a tight end or receiver. He was telling everybody, I'm a wide receiver. And a lot of people were like, bruh, you're a tight end. You're not fast enough to be a receiver. Just suck it up and be a tight end. He's like, no, I'm a wide receiver. I think Bucky Hodges is having that same complex issue where people are telling him, yo, you're 6'6", 257. You're a tight end, bro. And he's like, no, listen to me. I'm a receiver. I don't want to block anybody. I'm not trying to get into the trenches and be physical. I'm a finesse dude. They said, you 6'6", 257, you can't be a finesse dude. He's like, but I am though. He's a receiver, folks. Let's not try to make this guy out to be something that he's not. Let's not try to make him into this blocker. Let's not fit this square peg into a round hole. Let's not try. He's a receiver. Let's not act like this guy's a tight end. Bottom line, he doesn't block. He's not physical in that regard. He doesn't want to block. He's a wide receiver. That's the first con, okay? But he's a weapon, nonetheless, okay? You can't teach what this guy has. You can't teach 6'6", 257, 39-inch vert, and the ability to go up and get the football. Oh yeah, oh by the way, he still runs a 4.57 at that size. You can't teach that. So whatever you decide to do with him, he's a wide receiver. So don't ask him to block, and don't get mad when you ask him to block and he doesn't, and your running back gets tackled for a 3-yard loss. Don't get mad if you try to ask this guy to do something that he's not comfortable doing. Simple as that. Trouble with contested catches. Now this is something that I feel like he really needs to clean up, because catching the football is going to be his calling card at the next level. Not blocking, not moving around and doing all of this mumbo jumbo. Catching the goddamn football is where he's going to make his money. And I think teams going to want to throw it up to him. Like, hey, go get it. Like they did at Virginia Tech. But he's got to actually go and get it. I watched him against BC, and there were a couple of contested catches that I think he needs to come down with. I watched him against Pitt, and yeah, they were holding him. He picked up at least 5 or 6 pass interference on defenders in that game. They couldn't guard him. They were too small, and so they felt threatened, and they started grabbing him and holding him and molesting him. But he was strong enough to power through that and had opportunities to catch the football, and he just didn't. And I want to see him catch the football. He lets the ball into his chest way too often for me. Use your hands. You actually have big mitts. They're good hands. You can catch it with your hands. Use your hands. Stop letting the football into your chest. That's when you drop the football a lot of times. If he uses his hands, I think he'd be a lot more effective as a pass catcher, because there are too many times where there's a defender draped all over him, but he still has the ability to make the catch. Make the catch. Don't let the ball into your body. Use your hands. You're a big, strong man. Use your hands. Finally, he's as raw as can be. Whether he's a tight end, a wide receiver, doesn't matter. Okay, he's still raw. Remember, we're talking about a guy that came to college as a highly recruited quarterback, right? So just keep that in mind, that this guy is raw as can be. Whether you're going to ask him to try to block, whether you're going to ask him to be a tight end formationally, whether you're going to ask him to be a receiver and you're going to split him out wide, or you're going to move him around, put him in the slot, whatever you ask him to do, he is raw at it. His route running needs work. It needs a lot of work, okay? A lot of times he just relies on athleticism. To hell with this route. I'm just going to be bigger than the cornerback. Or I'm going to be bigger than the safety. Just throw me the ball. I'll catch it. He needs work, period. End of discussion. So whatever you are going to ask this man to do, he's raw at it. If you can figure it out, if you can work with this guy, and maybe he's not going to be of much assistance to you in year one, other than, hey, we're at the 4-yard line. Let's put Bucky Hodges in and see if we can't run a fade with him, whether it's back shoulder or it's just a traditional throw it up and go get it, young fella fade. Either way, he can help you in that regard year one. But from a positional standpoint, from a route running standpoint, from a conceptual standpoint, maybe he's not going to be ready to help necessarily year one. That doesn't mean you don't draft and stash and work with this kid every day in practice and turn him into a monster down the road. This guy can be a weapon for someone if utilized correctly. If you start asking him to do things he's not comfortable with, you can destroy Bucky Hodges' career before it even gets started. If you figure out where this guy can excel and get him to work on the subtleties and nuances of the game, this could be a big-time threat for someone in the passing game. Simple as that. That's Bucky Hodges and his draft prospects 101 breakdown. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie Tee Network. Man, we're moving on to the defense. We've been on tight ends for much too long. Let's go ahead and move over to the other side of the football. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.